May the 2nd, 2026. Guys, finally get a break in the rain here in the south. Sun's out, the ground is wet, and I think all the plants and gardens are loving it. It is 57 degrees, nice and cool. The Huskies love it. Guys, I told you we were going to do this video at 2 p.m. today. I want to start with Revelation 13:11. We're going to step through it. I'm going to try not to drag it out very long at all, because the message is much simpler than what people have tried to make it for the last few thousand years. But let me read it. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men." Guys, that's lightning, and it represents the storm god. And when you talk about the second beast, guys, do you realize that even if you're going into Roman Greek or even further back into Sumerian history, that some of the people like Anu, Enlil, and Enki never had a tombstone. They never had, or it has been recorded, a date of death. And if you look at the Egyptian king lines, they go on for thousands of years. Some of these people lived that long. And then, of course, the Sumerians, and they had the Anunnaki ties to where the people live much longer. Didn't say they live forever, but they live much longer, thousands of years, not just a couple thousand years since the New Testament was written. And so we're dealing with someone that can bring fire down from heaven, and that's exactly what many of the storm gods did. And by the way, there were more than one, but sometimes what we saw was the merger and the changing of names. If you go from Roman and Greek, they bounce back and forth with different names for the same entity. Sumerian text does the same thing. And he had power to give life into the image of the beast. What is the image of the beast right now? And that is this entire system that is in place now, instigated by greed, money, political power, influence, and spiritual control. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of the name, or your card to the new monetary system that's being put in place. We all understand that, right? Here's wisdom. This is where this leads in. "Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is" what? "The number of a man, and his number 666. Now, I've seen every type thing tying this to Roman emperors and everything else, guys, but it's a simple thing. I talked about it in a video 10 years ago, and it has to do with the king lines. The normal humans like me and you, we weren't really assigned numbers. If we lived back then, it was you got a name and a number. And that extended all the way up into more recent times, Henry VIII, blah, 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 right? But this king number assignment is the key to this. And so I don't have to make a long video to show you, but I do want to show you some of the implications and see what you have to say in the comments. But again, simplification is the best way. And Christ made it very simple here. People have made it complicated. Now, as we look at this image, in the Sumerian culture, the Anunnaki language, and we've seen it in other cultures, that the earth gods left before a great cataclysm. And therefore we see that all the nations of the world always look to the sky or say their God is in the sky or is going to return from the sky. And when they start talking about a star fell from heaven, and it doesn't say it's not a comet. I don't know why preachers won't get into that a little deeper. But it's not a comet or asteroid or anything else. It is a he. He was given the key. And the key I've been describing is the technology that is letting CERN run wide open and staying cool. Come from, again, the technology at Skinwalker Ranch. Anyway, there's a group of brothers, and it talks about Elyon and his sons, Adad, Baal. Adad and Baal could have both been the same person. But how does it relate to 666? I'm going to show you. Now, this is another image, another carving of Adad. They call him Hadad, but you can see here that it was a Romanized Hadad or Adad, the Akkadian, pronounced Adad, or Ishkur. Sumerian was a storm and rain god in the Canaanite and ancient Mesopotamian religions. He was attested in Elba as Hada, and there were many storm gods. Yahweh was a storm god. But anyway, this is who they're talking about. Here's the lightning bolts, the fire from heaven. Guys, and just as I say, you've got a Greek god that would later become a Roman god, and we're dealing with Apollo, okay? And, that is also a storm god. Anyway, from the Levant, Hadad was introduced to Mesopotamia by the Amorites, where he became known as the Akkadian, Assyrian, Babylon god Adad. Adad and Ishkur are usually written with the logogram here, guys. You can see it like the star. The same symbol used for the Hurrian god Teshub. Hadad was also called Rimmon, Padar, Rapio, Baal Zephon, or often simply Baal Lord. And that's what Baal and Lord is. And there's the confusion in the Old Testament when they started switching names. Anyway, however, the latter title was also used for other gods, again, Baal. The bull was the symbolic animal of Hadad. He appeared bearded, often holding a club and thunderbolt and wearing a bull-horned headdress. Hadad was equated with the Greek god Zeus, the Roman god Jupiter, and the Babylonian Baal. In other words, they were renamed simply to fit into the culture of the time, and to continue their stance of power within that group. In other words, you wanted to appear a Roman god or a Greek god or Sumerian god, and therefore you were worshipped and given power. Now, when the names changed as these beings moved through time, the storm god identity was the primary mask they wore to maintain their rank, while Adad from Sumerian Ishkur held the signature number 6. His counterparts across different cultures carry the same authority and often the same beast association in later text. Baal, Canaanite, often called the rider of the clouds. Baal is the most direct parallel to Adad. In the Bible, Baal is the primary rival to Yahweh and is later demoted in demonology to Baal, the first and principal king of hell. Some occult traditions link him to 66 legions of demons, mirroring the 6 signature. That's not where the 66 comes from, though, guys. But what is important is, again, it was his primary rival was Yahweh. And I've tried to explain, it's hard to do it, but Elyon was the father of all of this group. Yahweh was one of his sons. Baal was one of the brothers. There was a problem there because they had an argument over power and territory. In the original Greek of Revelation 9, the truth hidden in plain sight is because it has become even more technical, specifically through the linguistic origins of the names and the description of he who fell and was given the key. The name of Apollyon versus Apollo, or Apollyon, and the city buried underneath CERN in that area was one of Apollo's temples, by the way. In Greek, the name Apollyon. This is a direct play on Apollo, the Greek version of Adad. The hidden meaning, Apollyon, literally means the destroyer, but the root is apollema, which means to lose or release. What does the key release? The locust army. We talked about that with Ghost Murmur, the control of the Vegas. The technical connection. This implies that his function isn't just to destroy, but to unleash what has been locked away. And if the key is CERN, he is the releaser of the energy being held in the abyss. And guys, this was led into this discussion by input. In many historical traditions, the storm god Adad, known as the Iskar in Sumerian, is assigned the sacred number 6. Anu is the root 6 at the level of the supreme. His number was 60. The tribe of Anu's number represents the root of 6 at the level of the collective 600. In other words, the tribe's number was 600. Anu's name or number was 60, and Adad at the root was 666, plain sight from the king's list. And the name Apollyon is also Adad as you move through time. So I hope you understand. Now that it's pretty clear who it is, stop listening to 99% of the other preachers that have some kind of crap made up. This is very obvious. It's in your face. And they don't tell you this because they don't know it. One reason. They speculate, but much of the top is hidden, and we know that. We've seen it from the removal of the books. Now, what does this mean? All right, we got Adad. We got his number 666, and he's been handed the key to open the pit. Now, I don't think the pit's been opened yet. I think that's going to occur fairly soon. It may occur with the CERN shutdown at around June 29. They're going to cut the power way back, let it idle as they rebuild the machine to come back at 10 times the power they are now. And remember the video. I showed you that at 13 tera electron volts, CERN was dragging the magnetopause down to the satellite band. They're taking that model down, so we don't know what's happening at 14, but at 10 times that power after the 4-year period, that would open a pit because it's going to collapse or start to collapse the shields. Now, there's going to be events that happen throughout this time, and you notice it's man's fault, but when you look at the sequence of events and the timing, star fell, given the key, open the pit. It doesn't say instantly. These are sequence of events leading up to the opening. We don't know if it was a second, 1,000 years between these events. We just don't know that information. I think the key, again, to open the pit was handed off via the semiconductors found at Skinwalker through the Indian scientists at the University of Utah. And that technology was used to put the new cryogenic control system into CERN that now allows it to run at top power and stay cool. That was the key to letting the machine become strong enough to do the damage to our magnetosphere, to open that pit. There's things that are going to happen during this period of time. And it's not like when the pit is open that it's an instantaneous collapse of the shields. We're going to have 5 months after the pit is open where via, I think, the locust system and via the Starlink control, we'll control the vagus nerve. And men will wish to die because of the sting of that locust swarm and the sound of the wings. They'll wish to die but cannot because they have, the machines have the biological control. Your vagus will keep your heart beating when you wish to die. And then that system will be cut off after 5 months. Those who will endure will be kept safe in the Greek. Now, so what we can do now is, with a more realistic eye and approach, start putting together the other things we're seeing. And what does it tell us? The world is surprised. This statement is not a statement, it's a question. Is this the man? Is this the man had the key that tried to destroy the world? And now we see him for what he is, a mere demon with fallen angel tech that was put here to deliver that key. I didn't say he put it in the Mesa. The 1.6 signal broadcast that out. Travis Taylor and his group found it, found the material. NASA saw it. It would release heat endlessly. Just what CERN had to have to keep the crowds cool. Now, we talked about the beast system. There was a first beast. Was that the first time that this group was here before they left, before the great floods? Again, the timing of the leaving or the escape was at the time of the Younger Dryas. It goes back to the same time that the craft was buried in the mud flows of the Younger Dryas collapse in the Mesa at Skinwalker. This suggests that 666 is not just a number of a man, but the numerical stamp of the entire Anunnaki power structure. The Sumerians, from the celestial king down to the storm god and their earthly soldiers. So the reemergence, the second beast, and now the second beast is here to put the image into a creation, an image like the first beast that can speak. And I think what we're seeing is two versions of AI. The beast system and the ancient intelligence that is right now doing what, guys? They've created a debt spiral that's unstoppable. They're draining all the big people, all the money, because AI technology and having to rehire humans to try to control AI, the same humans they fired. But the system is being put back in place now. And when that system was at its peak, we saw floods. We saw the Younger Dryas goes, and you look at things like Noah's flood coming in and preventing the world from complete collapse, knocking out the noise of the machines of the fallen, bringing back the natural alpha. We've mentioned it several times. But again, we're looking at the beast system, 666. It's the number of a man, but it's also the number of that system that left, that appear to be falling back, just like we've been told. The sky gods returning, right? And by labeling the system as the beast, they didn't just hide the Anunnaki, but the return, but also they flipped the script so humanity would reject your original kings or something evil or fallen. If the numbers of Anu 60, 8 add 6, and the Anunnaki 600 are the literal foundation of how we measure time and space, and then we are living inside their system every second of the day without realizing it. 60 seconds, 60 minutes, on and on. They took the sacred geometry of the sixes and turned them into a prison of fear. Even by saying the number 666, people would go into a state of fear, trying to imagine what that could be. But when you have the knowledge to pierce through what you don't understand, that fear vanishes and you go into a different mode of wanting to understand what they're going to move, what counters can be put in place, and the fact that you cannot be fooled, and the fact that man's hearts will not fail them for realizing what's coming on this earth. And by shifting Adad, the storm god with the number 6, into Apollyon, the destroyer of the abyss, they successfully transformed a reigning king into a monster of the end times. It's the ultimate witness protection program. You had Adar, Mesopotamian, becomes Apollo. Apollo is then demonized as Apollyon. The number 6 follows him through the whole transition, but the context changes from divine order to the beast. They've changed a lot, haven't they, guys? They hid him by putting him at the center of the world's most famous prophecy, knowing most people wouldn't look back far enough to see the original name. It's not that he disappeared. He was just rebranded to control the narrative of the future. And guys, we know that much of the Bible was taken out, much of it was manipulated. Why? For control by fear. And this return, guys, the second beast and all of that, it's a loop. The Anunnaki signature 666 is the blueprint. The man is the legal representative on earth who signs the system into law. The beast system is the return of the ancient. Calculated control over humanity, rebranded as technology or global governance. New World Order, the UN. Think about it. They hide the truth by making people look for a monster with horns, while the real beast is just the return of the Adite Apollyon hierarchy through a human face. The same control mechanism is being put back in place. But it began a very long time. And again, when the Old Testament says that the world will wonder, they will say, is this the man, with a question mark? Is because they have listened to the wrong information. You don't want to be caught off guard. And once you identify the problem, you know what to watch for. You know who to watch. You know what signs to watch for. You start to realize the implications. That is why this being episode 9 of the Ancient Alien Files is put into this group or this series. Because it all ties together, guys. And the loop has another side, guys. The descent, that's Adad descending. The authority, he is given the key, meaning he has the legal right or technical access to open what has been locked. The man aspect, he operates through a human number to manifest the ancient system in our time. They hide it by calling him a star, to make it sound like a myth. But the text admits he is an individual with a mission. If he was given the key, it implies there is a higher authority, like, for instance, Anu, in this case, or El Elyon, who authorized the release. Now you'd say, well, why would our Father do that, guys? There's a lot of things you say that, but it all comes back to this. Waking up his children. Pre-destruction. Guys, and if you look at the lineage here, to what I'm talking about, a long-living group, first we had Baal, the Canaanite, called the rider of the clouds, and then Enlil. While Anu was the sky father, Enlil was the lord of the storm. Here we go. Who executed the divine will on earth. He was often seen as the one who ordered the great flood, showing the destructive beast power of the storm god lineage, just like the destructive flood of the machine technology of the fallen, the 5G noise, the corruption, the pollution, the draining of resources, the slave labor. Then as time moves forward, you go to Zeus, the king of the gods who wields the thunderbolt. Scholarly analysis of ancient magic squares associated with 666 actually identifies the number with the sun, but also with Zeus and the Lord of Heaven title, which was a play on the Canaanite Baal shaman. Adad, Marduk, Babylonian, the patron god of Babylon, was defeated. Who defeated the dragon of chaos using storms and winds? As the Lord Baal of the later Babylonian Empire, he inherited the storm god mantle as the face of the ruling system. Same entity moving through time in different, possibly different bodies, but definitely in a different character. And looking at, again, the Sumerian Anunnaki connection, guys, if you apply the Anunnaki numbering system to it, it explains why they had to hide the storm god identity. Who hid it, guys? The people that changed the information in the Bible, going from El Elyon, or Eli as Christ calls it, on the cross, from that to the storm god, to one of the children, Yahweh. It's easy to understand, and the reason they did it, I've said it for a long, long time, is they wanted to make that one religion the main religion. And by elevating the lower god Adad, or you know what I mean, with the number 6, they have changed him from a storm god, the rank of status, to the rank and status of Anu. 60, effective placing the beast system's authority at the very head of the universe. In other words, replacing this Adad with Anu, promoting him to top god, winning the religious war. And when you win the religious war, you have control. And many of you know that there was many changes in both the Old and New Testament, many books removed. And the fact, and I've said it ad nauseum, is that the Jews in Israel, in Jerusalem, were controlled by Rome. Rome infiltrated, destroyed the temple and stuff like that, but they couldn't overcome the power that Christ had initiated. So instead of continuing to fight it, they joined it. They entwined with it, bringing in people from Rome. They had a few books. But what they did was declare their religion number one. But they killed Jesus so that he wasn't really part of it, because it was not the real system that they had recreated in Israel. They had brought Yahweh, one of the brothers, one of the sons of El, in Genesis. They sat together. There was a group. The sons of God. They weren't angels with wings. They looked like man because we were made in their image. Do you see how easily the man, the 666, can walk among us? Guys, because he is a man, an ancient being. And so the question comes up, is it a series of someone dying, the spirit moving on to the next body, or is it just the entity living for thousands and thousands of years? Again, they did the same thing here as they did in our Bible, is transfer all the power into one place so that they control the narrative. And Rome controls a lot of religious narrative, and not many of them are the same. You've got one group doing one thing, one group doing another thing. At the Vatican, you've got the groups here around the world, mixtures of Christianity and Rome. That's why Constantine became powerful. That's why Paul became dead, and powerful then dead, but only his power did not occur until after the books were rewritten. That's why he couldn't go to the churches in Turkey. He went to the city of Ephesus, but he was removed from the church after 3 months and began to teach in the temple of the gods, with sorcery, prostitution. Everything was good there. Paul loved it. Anyway, that Roman takeover, the destruction of Christ, the killing of Stephen, was part of putting their God as the head chief. You cannot go against us. We got the head God. Now, Christ is my Savior, and his father, El Elyon, is the creator. I understand the system, but when people try to hijack it, the first thing they do is kill the leaders. And people are so naive. It breaks my heart. But you've been indoctrinated so hard, and that Bible been thumped on your head so many times. And people tell you, don't drift away, don't get away, your eyes may open. There's nothing wrong with Christianity. It's the people controlling it, changing it, killing you. And what do you see now? Churches, Christian churches are being attacked all over the world. Catholic churches, all over the world. People are being murdered, just like they murdered Christ. The same system in place, now coming back to a head. They've created the system that will destroy the real truth in order to bring about their false truth and the control of the new beast. Now, I want you to think about these things. I'm going to be here, and this goes live. It is not 2 o'clock yet. But I want to hear your opinions, because 2 heads are better than 1. Multiple heads. Sometimes we'll get some foolish stuff in here. But all together, though, overall, it's a It is a gathering of knowledge, and I enjoy doing it. Again, YouTube's algorithms, guys, have changed so much in the last few months. It's almost hard to keep a channel. They want you to put one up and put it to premiere 24 hours later now, not for anything other than so they can test it in various markets and see who likes it. That's why you don't see many subscription notifications going out anymore. It's not based on that. And so what that does is put people like me that we're going to get penalized because we put up a tornado warning that we can't wait 24 hours to do, or hurricane change and movement that we can't wait 24 hours to do. So they start taking away your subscribers because it's not the most popular thing on YouTube. So they break your spirit and put you into one lane, if you let them, part of the beast system. And so that, I have to maintain the channel as long as I can because I've got a lot of mouths to feed here, guys. I'm old. I don't go out in the world and work like I did for 65 years. Okay? So I have to try to maintain it, but inside me, it tears me apart having to deal with the new system. I think it's, it's run by AI, so they're looking at numbers and profit and all of that. I understand. I'm not biting the hand that helps feed my huskies, but it does make it harder. I wish they would just go back to the old way of they'd send out the notification to your subscribers. If they want to watch it, if you want to watch it, you can, but at least get the notification. They don't do it anymore. They're wiping out channels left and right. And again, giving strict guidelines. I'm trying to adhere to those again. I've got a lot of mouths to feed here, and I don't mind the work, but they seem to be making it much harder. And I may get to the point to where one day my series, I can do them, put them in storage, and let YouTube play with it for 24 hours. But I'm so used to doing just the opposite for 15 years that it goes against my nature a little bit. Now, these are going to probably move into that. But I've got other things going on here that I have to tend to, and that creates a situation where I have to really sit down and concentrate possibly in the middle of today to get out tomorrow's information. A lot of people do it. It's just different than it used to be, and I wish they would just send the notifications out and let you guys choose if you want to watch it or not. Anyway, I'm not going to drag this out much longer. I hope you got something out of the short video. It doesn't have to be long when it's simple. God bless every one of you. This is a heads up. Be safe.